I can say that Ivan will not play on Saturday.
And let's see how it plays out right at the death, maybe.
And we have to sign one winger, at least one winger. We have to sign one winger to complete the squad.
It's not just money, you understand, it's the availability at this late stage.
Then we always decide what's best for the club, and then we will make the decisions, and then the public will see it.
A mistake now is the worst thing that can happen.
And I'm happy to ask more questions about Ivan next time we're sitting here.
Good evening, welcome along to the Transfer Show. The countdown is well and truly on to get the final deals over that line. Meanwhile, it's decision day for Victor Osimhen. Where will the striker decide to move to? Liverpool have their second signing of the summer as winger Federico Chiesa joins from Juventus in a £12.5 million deal. And we'll bring you a crucial update regarding Mark Gay, who has been the subject of multiple bids from Newcastle. OK, so much to get through, but we've got to find out why it's decision day for Victor Osimhen today. Mark McAdam and James Savindra join me today. So, look, I'm going to start with that question to you, Mark. Why is it decision day for him then?
Well, we're running out of time. This is a huge deal, potentially, and if it were to happen with a Premier League side, it would probably be the biggest deal of the summer because of the numbers that are involved. Victor Osimhen has been someone we've spoken about almost daily throughout the course of the last 2.5 months. And you have to go back to December last year where he signed that bumper new contract with Napoli. The thinking there was not only are they going to give him the money they believe he's worth, but they'll also insert a release clause that is in excess of £100 million. Obviously, the Napoli president and the hierarchy at the club thought, well, actually, don't worry about it because he's so good, someone will come and pay the money in the summer. So this big wage that we're now giving him, we won't have to do for very long, maybe 6 months or so before we lose him. However, no one in the world of football has been able to get anywhere near what Napoli would like. So they've had to lower their price. Hence why Chelsea have been in negotiations with Napoli. There's also been an interest from PSG. And we know Al Ahly as well have been interested in taking Victor Osimhen to the Saudi Pro League. So he has options on the table. Whether they're the options that he would like or not is another question.
Okay.
But obviously, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
If Chelsea decide to go for another striker, then obviously they need time to action that. Hence why today, like you say, is a big decision day for this man's future. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out today and potentially into tomorrow.
OK, James, I've heard you've got an A-level in maths, so you're going to do the numbers. Can you do them, please?
Not quite. GCSE, I didn't decide to further my interest into A-levels, but in terms of numbers, Victor Osimhen, we know what Al Ahly are looking to offer him. According to Sky Italy, a 4-year contract with an exit clause where he's going to earn more than £25 million a year if he decides to go to the Saudi Pro League. That's more than £480,000 a week. Chelsea cannot get anywhere near close to that. They wouldn't want to either because Chelsea have pursued this policy, which they're really proud of in recent time, of giving out extended contracts on a lower base salary. And in fact, their base salary is lower on average than the majority of Premier League clubs, less than £72,000 a week. Now, I'm not suggesting that Chelsea would only be offering Victor Osimhen £72,000 a week, but clearly you can see there's going to be a vast gap between what Al Ahly are able to offer him and what Chelsea would like to offer him in this window. So the decision is very much there for Victor Osimhen. Does he want to compete for trophies with Chelsea? Does he see that vision with Chelsea of them competing once again, playing in the best league in the world, competing for honours, part of this rebuild under Enzo Maresca? Or does he look at that salary offer from Al Ahly and think, no, that's way too good to turn down? And I think you can understand when you can see the figures involved here, over £480,000 a week, why Victor Osimhen may be tempted. We've been reporting all this transfer window. His aim in this window has been to play for a club in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. Clearly, Al Ahly aren't that, but clearly Al Ahly offers something different as well.
You'd take those numbers, wouldn't you, both of you?
Yeah, maybe. I'd have to
think about it, which is nice, really. Look, if Chelsea don't get Osimhen, what can they do next, Mark?
Well, they've got options, of course. They're not just pinning all their eggs on Victor Osimhen signing for Chelsea. The players that we know that they like, the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, John Duran, Ivan Toney. However, you have to, at this stage of the transfer window, use those names with a pinch of salt because the likelihood of any of those deals potentially happening at this stage seems unlikely, but they're most certainly on Chelsea's radar. The important thing to point out is the talks continue with Victor Osimhen's representatives, so they're still at the negotiations table. and they're still talking about potential deals. Of course, like James says, it's about finding the numbers and making sure they work for Chelsea and the wage structure that they're trying to implement at the club at the moment. But those other names, very much on the horizon, but at this stage, it doesn't look like Chelsea will action one of those just yet.
OK, in terms of this man here, if he doesn't go to Chelsea, what happens to him? He stays at Brentford?
Well, much of Ivan Toney's future could depend on what Victor Osimhen decides to do, whether or not he wants to go to Chelsea or the Saudi Pro League. Now, if he chooses Chelsea, then Al Ali may come back in again for Ivan Toney. He's not featured in any of the 3 matchday squads for Brentford so far this season. We know the Saudi window shuts on the 2nd of September. That's Monday, so they have a little bit more time to play with Al Ali if they want to go back in for Ivan Toney. There is a situation, and Brentford are preparing for life with Ivan Toney to stay at Brentford for the remainder of this season. He's into the final year of his contract, and that's why this was felt like the summer to let him go, because it's the last window they can guarantee to get some money for him. Fortunately, we've been speaking to Thomas Frank all week, and today our reporter Gail Davis spoke to Thomas Frank and asked him for the very latest on Ivan Toney's future.
I can say that Ivan will not play on Saturday. And I can say that I'm very happy to speak about the players that played last night, or the players that will play tomorrow. Ivan is training well and in good spirit, and I'm happy to ask more questions about Ivan next time we're sitting here.
OK, so interesting comments there from Thomas Frank. Look, the clock is ticking for a number of players, isn't it? And none more so than perhaps Raheem Sterling. You know, what's the situation with him? He's having to leave Chelsea, right?
He's been forced out the door. That's certainly what it looks like from the outside. There's obviously been internal conversations that have been happening over the course of the last few weeks and maybe even months, but it's certainly come to a head over the course of the last week or so, where it looks like game time under Enzo Maresca is going to be limited. In fact, he may not even play at all. That's certainly the message that Chelsea are putting out at the moment. Raheem Sterling has 3 years left on his current Chelsea contract and, as we've been talking about, is one of the highest earners at the football club. Now, Chelsea are currently looking around and finding packages to present to Raheem Sterling for potential options out of Stamford Bridge. We know that Manchester United is a possibility. We know that there was Juventus interest earlier on in the window, but it seems at this stage it's very unlikely he'll be playing for Chelsea this season. They just need to find the right package to present to him to say, would you be open to this? We know that his family's obviously a big issue. He wants to be comfortable and settled, so when you start to talk about Juventus or the Saudi Pro League, that's probably something that he wouldn't be open to. So you're looking at Premier League sides, and whilst there is an interest from Manchester United, once again they need to make sure the numbers work, and that's where Jadon Sancho potentially could come into the picture.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that, Sancho then. So Chelsea aren't the only team that are interested in Jadon Sancho, though, are they? Chelsea
and Juventus. Juventus have been pushing for his signature in the last few days. The issue Juventus have is one source is telling us that they think Sancho prefers to go to Chelsea if that deal can be made possible. Now, Juventus also are only in a position financially to do a loan. Clearly, Manchester United would prefer a permanent sale in this window or a loan with an obligation to buy. But with Sancho having effectively 3 years left in his contract, they understand that at this moment in time, it may simply have to be a loan. And if Sancho was to leave, Man United don't feel like an urgent need to bring a player in. Yes, there has been talk about Raheem Sterling, but it's not a case of if Sancho goes, we'll bring one in, or we have to have a player coming in if Sancho goes. That's not the case at all. Juventus' issue, again, is around the fact that if they take Jadon Sancho on loan, then they will have to pay a portion of his wages as well. Man United won't simply sanction him going to Juventus on loan and then still picking up a huge portion of that bill. So Sancho, with that 3 years left in his contract, yes, he's reintegrated into the United first team, not being part of the first 2 matchday squads. It does feel like his future is elsewhere. It's whether or not Chelsea or Juventus can get a deal done in the final couple of hours of this window.
It's interesting, isn't it, that sort of, domino effect in terms of, like, both Raheem and Sancho in very similar circumstances as well. What happens if they both dig their heels in and say, well, actually, I've got a 3-year contract? They just sit there and do nothing, do they?
Well, that's what they could do. They could
and that's what they're entitled to do.
Yeah, absolutely. They've signed a contract in good faith. The club's given them the contract. They've signed it. So therefore, if the club's choice, as it certainly appears like in both situations, Manchester United would like Jadon Sancho to be moved on. The same with Raheem Sterling. It's actually the club's responsibility where the players can say, well, I'm quite comfortable and happy in here. If you want to pay me to pay for the reserves, then so be it. It's not what I want, but actually, I'd rather do that than uproot my family and go to a place where I'm not going to be comfortable. And I think this is a part of the problem with modern football and football, is that these players, they get a lot of criticism from fans when they decide to move on to another club, when they get another opportunity, when things go a bit sour where they are and they decide, I need to force this move. But actually, not many fans give the club criticism when they want to force them out the door. And it's always a weird pendulum when you look at this situation, because the fans are so quick to criticise players that decide, actually, this is a better opportunity for me and my family, but it doesn't always happen in the reverse. So, yeah, a really difficult situation. But like you see, the clock's ticking. There is still time for things to happen. And as we know, on deadline day, anything is possible.
Oh, anything is possible. Look, we've discussed, haven't we, these multiple bids for Mark Gahey. Newcastle clearly still want him. So, James, are Crystal Palace going to give in, do you think?
Crystal Palace remain firm in their valuation throughout this transfer window, and we've spoken to the likes of Mark Gahey, we've spoken to Steve Parish as well, the Palace chairman. He said he's paid superstar money to get a superstar player. So far, Newcastle haven't met that valuation, and one source is telling us that they think it's clear Steve Parish doesn't want to sell in this transfer window. Now, Mark Gahey has just been made captain of Crystal Palace. They've lost their first 2 matches of the season after building all that momentum towards the back end of last season with that top 10 finish. And Crystal Palace now face an injury crisis at centre-back if Mark Gahey was to leave the club, because on Tuesday night, Chadi Riyad has picked up a ligament injury to his knee. We're not sure how long he could be out for. And, of course, they've sanctioned the exit of Joachim Andersen as well to Fulham. So at this moment in time, they're really short in the centre-back area. Yes, they brought in some players, but a lot of experience has left that club over the course of the last few weeks. Jordan Ayew, Michael Olise, Joachim Andersen, Sam Johnson looks to be on his way out as well. So I think Crystal Palace are really reluctant to do business unless Newcastle come in and offer in the last one day, 5 hours, 47 minutes this window, which they simply can't turn down with 2 years left in his contract, Mark Gahey. So that's one thing they're considering as well. OK. Frustration then, of course, for Newcastle, because, like you say, that window's really closing. Do you think they're going to explore other options if they don't get Gahey? Well, as James has just said, look at the time. The time's running out. And this is a real head-scratcher, because clearly this has been the #1 centre-back target for Newcastle United throughout the course of this summer. Yeah. But yet we're getting to one day before the window shuts where we're being told that they're walking away from a potential deal. And that's after 4 rejected offers. So you'd have to question the hierarchy at Newcastle and say, well, why are you getting to this point where your #1 centre-back target is now no longer your target? And who can you get through the door at this late stage? Clearly, they would have had a list of players, maybe 3, 4, 5 deep, centre-backs that they'd been looking at. But whether or not you'll be able to find the right deal with a little over 24 hours is something that remains to be seen. You have to go back 3 weeks, 4 weeks, when they had a deal lined up for Tosin Adrabiro, who was a free transfer, leaving Fulham. Deal agreed virtually. And then within 72 hours, Chelsea have swooped in and signed the player from underneath Newcastle's noses. How have they allowed that to happen? And you're in a situation now, and I know there's been changes at board level. We've seen Amanda Murdad depart. We've seen Dan Ashworth go to Manchester United. And we've seen Paul Mitchell come in, who has a reputation for operating very cleverly and shrewdly in the transfer market. We're yet to see that at Newcastle. And this situation probably symbolises what's been going on. And I think Newcastle fans will look at the whole window and look with frustration and think, actually, how are we in this position? We've got very rich owners who can't spend money because of PSR. That's important to point out. So they have to be creative and clever with what they do. But at the moment, I think they'll be looking at this squad thinking, we're not vastly better than we were last year. We've got Sandro Tonali to come back, of course, who's now played. But actually, we're not a better unit. And there's going to be a lot of reliance on Eddie Howe and the coaching that he's done to make those players better than they are. But a big 24 hours and Paul Mitchell, he's got to find something, a rabbit out of a hat, because Newcastle fans are desperate for him to do something and really inject some life into this window and that squad. Newcastle desperate for a centre-back. This just in when it comes to Crystal Palace bringing in another centre-back, and this is nothing to do with Mark Gahey. Maxence Lacroix, he's just completed his medical at Crystal Palace. So that deal is going to be worth up to £21 million. Initial £18 million deal from Wolfsburg. He played under Oliver Glasner before, so this you can see the connection there. He's signing players. Kamada joining already in this window as well. He played for him at Frankfurt, and he's brought in as a replacement for Joachim Andersen. This is nothing to do with Mark Gahey potentially leaving and then trying to succession plan for that. That's not the case. So Maxence Lacroix, medical complete, and also at the same time, Eddie Nketiah finalising his move from Arsenal to Crystal Palace. That fee, £25 million up front, rising to potentially £30 million if you include the performance-related add-ons. So, yes, it's been a really interesting summer for Crystal Palace fans because they built up all that momentum. They had so much positivity going into this season. They've lost some key players, but now they're building for the future, and Maxence Lacroix is on his way to Crystal Palace and will be confirmed as a Crystal Palace player shortly.
All right, brilliant. Let's talk about done deals then, because Liverpool have got another one over the line, haven't they, in Chiesa?
Yes, Liverpool fans finally saying we've got a player that we can see this season because, of course, Georgi Mamardashvili won't be at Liverpool until next summer. But, of course, he's an experienced player as well, 26-year-old. We got confirmation from this one at 2 o'clock. We understand the deal's £10 million with £2.5 million in add-ons. And there you can see Federico Chiesa, done deal, £12.5 million as a total package with the Liverpool shirt. He'll be wearing the number 14. And our information is he's signed a 4-year contract. I think the big thing as far as Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards and Arne Slot are concerned is they're getting a player that understands how to play at an elite level. Not only has he played in the top flight in Italy, but he's also played Champions League football as well. And Liverpool have been tracking the player since his Fiorentina days. So he's a player they're very aware of. They've been monitoring for some time. And the fact they've been able to get him in for a package at that price would look to be really smart, shrewd business once again from Liverpool. We've seen them operate cleverly this window. They've sold a lot of players. They've made a lot of money on younger players. But they've got here someone that can go straight into that first team and play at an elite level. And as you can imagine, he's super excited about the challenge at Liverpool. And he's been speaking to the media today. Here's what he said.
Been so far a great day, and I'm so happy to be a Liverpool player. When Richard Hughes called me and he said, "Do you want to join Liverpool?" and the coach called me, I said yes immediately because I know the history of this club. I know what it represents to the fan, and so I'm so happy, and I can't wait to get started.
As you say, it has happened quite quickly. From what you said there, was it an easy decision to make?
It was for a lot of reasons, and because I felt immediately that the people who I talked to put a lot of faith and trust in me, and that is what I wanted, and so it's really great to be here. It's a dream come true for me to play for Liverpool.
OK, stay with us. Plenty coming up on the Transfer Show next. Scott McTominay is given a hero's welcome in Italy as he closes in on a move to Napoli. Welcome back to the Transfer Show. Let's get the latest on incomings to Manchester United. James, I'm posing this one to you. Manuel Ugarte, I think I said it beautifully there. Is he going to be signed in time to play against Liverpool, of course, at the weekend?
Well, Manchester United are confident they're going to register him in time to do so. They need to register him by midday tomorrow so he can be in the squad to take on Liverpool Super Sunday. United off the back of that defeat against Brighton last week. It'll be summer signing number 5 for Manchester United. Completing his medical at Manchester United today. All being well, he'll sign off on personal terms of a long-term contract. And a reminder of the deal, United will pay PSG an initial €50 million plus €10 million in performance-related add-ons. And that will probably be that when it comes to United incomings, unless it's the latest thing in the tale tomorrow. OK, we have seen outgoings, though, haven't we? Some great scenes in Naples today. Scott McTominay. Yeah, this is thanks to our colleague Sky in Italy. And, you know, you'd have to say, is this the Beatles arriving? Is this Ronaldo? No, look at that. Is this, you know, a superstar? Absolutely mobbed upon his arrival. And I think that's one of those moments where there would have been a lot of doubt about him leaving Manchester United because he'd been at Old Trafford since the age of 5. It had been, you know, 22 years of his career, and suddenly he's making the exit. And you arrive there, you've got the police, the Sun, and a little mob of fans. You'd probably be thinking, well, this is exciting. This is nice. This makes me feel like
I drive work every day.
Lukaku came yesterday. They just stayed at the airport.
Absolutely. Thinking this is the right deal for me. What do we know about the deal? Well, obviously, all documents have now been signed. It's a £21 million deal with potential add-ons of £4.2 million, giving a thumbs up to the fans there. And like we say, this brings to an end a huge Manchester United career. And I'm someone I think Manchester United fans would really appreciate, and I think even Erik ten Hag. You look at some of those late goals and those performances last season, Manchester United don't have that. They don't have the opportunity to rely on someone like Scott McTominay, who's been spoken about for a potential exit for a number of windows now. Finally, he's got his opportunity in a new league and a new division, and Manchester United might just regret losing someone of his calibre and quality in and out of the dressing room.
If Billy Gilmour is watching on and thinking, I quite like that, will he be joining him, do you think?
It looks very unlikely at this stage. It looks like he's going to stay at Brighton. I was at the Amex on Saturday and he was absolutely brilliant. He was player of the match in the game against Manchester United. And having spoken to Fabian Hurtzler today, he told Sky Sports News, I think he hinted at his press conference that he'll be staying in this window. And that's because Matt O'Reilly, who they've just signed from Celtic, has picked up an injury just a few minutes into his debut against Crawley the other night. He's facing a lengthy spell on the sidelines due to an ankle ligament injury. So that means it feels likely Billy Gilmour's going to stay on the south coast of England.
OK, so we won't get a bit
where it's sunny.
Yeah.
Like Naples.
Yeah. OK, that's, similarities there. Look, we exclusively broke, didn't we, yesterday, about Aaron Ramsdale joining Southampton. Have they wrapped this all up? Is this a done deal now?
Not yet. We're just waiting for official confirmation. We know that Aaron Ramsdale was back down on the south coast this morning to go through the formalities of the medical and to sign the paperwork. We understand this one is an £18 million deal. If Southampton stay in the Premier League, there will be a further £1 million in add-ons, and then potentially another 6, which would take the total package price of around £25 million, depending on whether some of those add-ons will be reached. We're just waiting for confirmation from the club, but only a matter of time on this one.
All right, brilliant stuff. More from the Transfer Show at 7 o'clock. Next, Lee Carsley names 4 uncapped players in his first England squad. Stay